learn English, like get fluent, just by watching movies. Okay, let's get into this. It sounds almost too good to be true, right? Just pop on a film and absorb the language. But the sources we looked at suggest there's actually some real science behind it, a method to the movie madness, you can say. So we're doing a deep dive today. Using movies for English mastery, we want to uncover the science, find the best strategies, maybe debunk some myths. Our mission. We'll look at what this approach really is, how to actually do it well, get some practical tips, and yeah, maybe pick up some new vocabulary too.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating is how films give you so much more than, just words from a textbook. It's this whole language experience. Something traditional methods often, well, they often miss it. Our sources really frame movies as this powerful and, let's be honest, enjoyable way to learn. You get exposure to natural conversation, different accents, real-life words, and crucially, it's all in context. So it's not just passive watching. It really requires you to engage actively.
Okay, so it's not just zoning out on the sofa then.
Yeah.
You're saying films can genuinely improve listening, pronunciation, even cultural understanding. That sounds pretty effective. You actually see how people use idioms, slang, even body language.
Yeah.
Things that make your English sound more, well, real, authentic.
Exactly. And to really get how it works, we need to touch on a key idea in language acquisition from Krashen. It's this difference between acquisition and learning. Acquisition that's subconscious. It's how kids pick up their first language, basically. It happens when you understand stuff that's just a little bit beyond where you are now.
Like a stretch, but not impossible.
Precisely. What Krashen called I+1. And your focus is just on understanding the message, not picking apart the grammar. That's what leads to fluent natural speech.
Huh. So my brain is just sort of soaking it in without me consciously analyzing every verb tense. That feels very different from school lessons.
It is. Learning, on the other hand, that's your conscious knowledge. Grammar rules you can state. Its role is actually pretty limited in fluent conversation. Think of it like a monitor. It helps you edit what you say or write, but only after you've already formed the thought. It's not really driving the fluency bus.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like knowing the theory of riding a bike versus actually being able to hop on and go without thinking about every single movement.
Perfect analogy, yeah. And that connects to another really important concept, the affective filter.
Affective filter, what's that?
It's basically an emotional barrier. If you're feeling anxious or stressed or maybe just bored or uncomfortable, this filter goes up. And even if you're hearing perfectly good English, your brain might not actually use it for acquisition. It just bounces off.
No.
So having a low filter, feeling relaxed, comfortable, interested, is absolutely vital for this subconscious acquisition to happen effectively.
So just enjoying the movie, being engaged, actually helps you learn better by lowering that filter. That's quite an insight into how we learn.
It really is. Now let's talk vocabulary. The basic building blocks, right?
Right. Can't see much without words.
Exactly. Our sources define it simply, all the words in a language. And they stress it's a key to mastering English. Pretty straightforward. The more words you acquire naturally, the better you can communicate.
Okay, but what about those words that aren't always in the dictionary? The casual stuff, the things that change all the time.
You mean slang. Yeah, slang's important. It's informal, often new, changes fast. Used a lot by specific groups, maybe younger people or within certain social circles. Sure, sometimes it touches on taboo stuff, but honestly, understanding slang is essential if you want to get natural, casual, everyday English. You miss a lot without it.
Yeah, definitely. It's like a whole layer of meaning you just wouldn't catch otherwise. Like an inside joke you're not in on.
Precisely. And then there's another category, conventional expressions. These are those predictable phrases like, no problem, or nice to meet you. Little chunks of language. Native speakers use them all the time in specific situations. The tricky part, our sources say, is they require pragmatic knowledge, knowing when and why to use them. That can be hard to pick up just from rules.
Okay, so bringing this all together, for your next moody night, it means you're not just relaxing, you could actually be like strategically working out your language muscles. Maybe without even realizing it.
That's the potential, yes. It's about being smart with your viewing.
Which leads us to the practical side, the playbook. How do we actually make the most of learning English from movies?
Right. Well, first things first, choosing your movie. Your cinematic classroom, if you will. This is absolutely critical.
Okay.
You have to pick films that are right for your level. And
Right.
Here's a really surprising bit from the research. Don't assume kids' movies are always easier linguistically. One study found that, believe it or not, Titanic actually has more expensive A-level vocabulary than Toy Story or Stuart Little.
No way. Really? Titanic?
Really, which means for a B1 level student, intermediate Titanic might actually be a better choice, vocabulary-wise. It's often counterintuitive.
Huh. So it's not about the plot complexity, but the actual language used.
Exactly, the linguistic complexity, vocabulary range, sentence structures, not just who the movie was aimed at.
Got it. So any specific recommendations based on levels?
Yeah, the sources offer some. For A1, A2 elementary level, they suggest things like the 2016 Jungle Book, simple English, exciting story. Talking animals usually keep the language fairly straightforward.
All right, wolves don't tend to use complex clauses.
Generally not. The Parent Trap from '98 is another good one.
Yeah.
There's also mention of a romantic drama. Seems like it might be Dear John. Good for love vocabulary and conversational stuff. Oh, and Forrest Gump. Tom Hanks speaks quite slowly and clearly, uses everyday language, and the first Harry Potter film is good for building basic vocabulary, too.
Okay, solid list for beginners. What about advanced learners? C1, C2, people aiming for high fluency, maybe watching without subtitles?
Right. For them, you can really dive into more complex stuff. Films with richer vocabulary, more nuanced dialogue. Suggestions include Fight Club,
Classic.
Vicky Cristina Barcelona, and Quentin Tarantino films, like Pulp Fiction, known for that distinctive dialogue, lots of pop culture references. Definitely a workout.
Okay, so choosing the right movie is step one. Now,
Yeah.
how you watch it. You said it's not just passive?
Correct. This is where it gets really interesting. The main goal, always, is comprehensible input, understanding the message. So your job is finding stuff where the language is, like we said, just that little bit beyond your current level. You use context, what you already know about the world, the visuals, all of that helps you bridge the gap.
So focus on understanding the gist, not every single word.
Exactly. And especially for beginners, embrace the silent period. It's totally okay, even natural, to just listen and absorb for a while. Build up that competence. Don't feel pressured to speak right away. The ability to speak fluently, kinda, emerges on its own after enough listening and understanding.
That takes the pressure off. And you mentioned quantity.
Yes. Quantity over perfection. Aim for lots and lots of input that you find interesting and mostly understand. One researcher called it a shotgun approach. Cover a wide area. The sheer volume increases your chances of hitting the target, of acquiring the language subconsciously. Don't get bogged down analyzing one scene forever.
Okay, blast the brain with understandable English. Makes sense.
And a really practical tip from the research for active learning sessions. The ideal watching time seems to be short bursts, between 3 and 5 minutes.
Really? That's short.
Yeah. Apparently, if you go much longer in one go while trying to actively learn, people tend to just relax and slip back into passive viewing. Those short, focused chunks seem best for maximizing acquisition during study time.
Interesting. Okay, so lots about subconscious acquisition. But what about actual studying, conscious learning? The monitor you mentioned, does it have a place?
It does, yeah, good question. While fluency mainly comes from that subconscious acquisition, consciously learning some grammar rules can help. It acts as that editor, the monitor. It's most useful when you have time, like in writing or maybe preparing something to say. The key is focusing on learnable rules.
Learnable rules, like the easy ones.
Pretty much. Rules that are simple, easy to explain and remember, like adding the S for third-person singular verbs or the ed for regular past tense. They're sort of portable rules you can apply consciously without too much effort.
Okay, so don't try to consciously apply super complex grammar in the middle of a chat.
Exactly. Trying to perfectly apply rules about, say, English articles or complex question formation in real-time conversation, it usually just makes you hesitate, sound unnatural, and distract you from actually communicating. It takes too much mental bandwidth.
Right. Analysis paralysis.
Precisely. So find a balance. Use the monitor sparingly for simple fixes.
Gotcha. And any other active study tips related to movies?
Yes, focus on developing conversational competence. Learn those useful phrases for starting talks, keeping them going. Greetings, politeness, things like please, thank you, how to agree or disagree politely. And importantly, learn how to ask for help. Sorry, what does that mean? Could you say that again? These aren't just phrases. They're tools to get more comprehensible input from real interaction.
Ah, so they help you keep the conversation and the learning going.
Exactly. And this is where movies really shine for vocabulary, especially slang and those conventional expressions we talked about. They come alive in a way a list just can't replicate.
Yeah, you see them used. Like in Diary of a Wimpy Kid, you mentioned that's a good source.
Yes, the sources highlighted it. Based on research by Partridge, it categorized the slang found there into a couple of interesting types.
Oh, cool. Like what?
Well, first, public school slang. Basically, words kids use in school. Examples from the movie included morons, outa for outa, what's up, as a greeting.
Stuff you actually hear.
Definitely. Also, hang out, meaning to relax or spend time. Gonna for going to. You hear rad for awesome, wicked for great. It captures that authentic, informal vibe.
Yeah, totally. And the other type?
Society slang. More general, informal words, often expressing emotion. In Wimpy Kid, examples were jerk for someone disliked, saying you have a gut feeling, meaning intuition, using cop informally for a police officer, gross for disgusting, geez for surprise or maybe disappointment. Even terms like dude for a guy or freak for someone strange, or affectionate nicknames like bubby. Oh, and gotcha for I understand, or I caught you.
Wow, it's amazing how context makes those instantly understandable, isn't it? Much better than a definition alone.
Absolutely. And the same goes for those conventional expressions, no problem, nice to meet you. Seeing them used in movie dialogues helps you grasp the pragmatics, the when and why, which is often the hardest part.
Okay, so wrapping this up, it feels like the big message is movies can be a fantastic tool for learning English. Seriously powerful.
They can be.
But it really depends on how you use them. It's not magic. It's about being intentional.
Right. Focusing on getting lots of comprehensible input, keeping that affective filter low by choosing stuff you enjoy, and maybe strategically applying a few simple learned rules when you have time.
Yeah. And it seems the overall picture is that immersion, like through movies, works best when you already have some foundation. Or when you combine it with other things, maybe like using an app for grammar or vocabulary practice.
That seems to be the most effective path for many. Immersion is great, maybe even essential for high-level fluency, but it's often supercharged when combined with some structured learning, and importantly, it takes time.
Right. No magic bullet. It's still a journey, often years to get truly conversational or near native.
Definitely. But movies offer a really engaging, effective way to travel that road. Leveraging that subconscious acquisition power is key.
Okay, so that's the real core idea, isn't it? Understanding how our brains actually acquire language, often beneath the surface, just by engaging with interesting, understandable stuff. So here's a final thought for you. Now that you have this insight, this idea of how your brain can subconsciously learn something as complex as language from something enjoyable like a film, how might you apply that principle elsewhere? Where else in your life, maybe your hobbies, your job, even your commute, could you find these untapped opportunities for subconscious learning and growth just by tweaking how you engage with them? Something to think about.